everyone, this is Melissa and I'm the talkative introvert. I don't know why, but it feels like I haven't done an episode by myself in a long time. Like it feels like forever since I just sat alone in my office to record an episode. Even though my last two episodes, I wasn't actually sitting next to anyone, it was over Zoom. It still felt like they were there. You know what I mean? But I have really enjoyed doing those interviews and I definitely want to do more in the future, and I'll definitely bring back Mia and Casey because those were definitely a lot of fun. But it is nice to come back and do a solo episode because, as my fellow introverts know, it can be pretty exhausting talking to someone, even though we're not actually physically next to each other and face to face. It's still, interacting with someone and it's still socializing. So it is pretty tiring. Anyways, so in today's episode, we're going to talk about small talk. Yes, the very much dreaded activity. Most of us hate it. Most of us don't even know how to do it, or at least not very well. Honestly, I know a lot of extroverts who hate it too, but there's definitely some benefits to small talk, and I will get into that later on. So usually by this time, if you've listened to my previous episodes, I do a little podcast journey. But to be honest, this is, what is this, episode 12, I think? Nothing new has really happened. I think I'm finally getting used to it. I've got my mic set up. I've got my new headphones. I've figured out the software. I've pretty much gotten everything down. So I may just not do so much of the podcast journey anymore, just because now it's just becoming routine and I'm finally understanding how to do it, and it's super easy now, and it's definitely it's definitely not as frustrating as it used to be trying to figure everything out, but now it's smooth sailing. But I do have to plug Buzzsprout. I'm sure you've heard it in the last two episodes. I have been talking about Buzzsprout because Buzzsprout is where I host my podcast. If you're an aspiring podcaster like myself, I highly suggest using Buzzsprout to host your podcast. Buzzsprout makes it easy for any aspiring podcaster to get started and get listed on all the popular podcast platforms with their easy to follow instructions and numerous videos and resources. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, I definitely would go with Buzzsprout. Please follow the link in the description to let them know I sent you and to support the show. New podcasters get a $20 Amazon gift card when you sign up for a paid plan. If you do start a podcast, please let me know because I honestly and truly would love to know about it. I would love to hear all about it because I love podcasts and I listen to podcasts almost daily. So please let me know if you start a podcast. Honestly, during this whole thing, I've actually discovered a lot of new podcasts, and there's actually a lot of other introvert podcasts out there. And, it's really interesting to see their perspective on everything. And because I've mentioned before, it's definitely a spectrum, not everyone is the same. So it's really cool to see how other introverts are and how they react to different things and what do they do to go about their lives in this extrovert world that we live in. So as part of that, this segues into our main episode, which is all about small talk. And in case you don't know what small talk is, which I'm sure you do, but just in case, according to Wikipedia, and yes, I use Wikipedia just because I really like their definition of small talk, but according to Wikipedia, small talk is an informal type of discourse that does not cover any functional topics of conversation or any transactions that need to be addressed. In a nutshell, it is a polite conversation about unimportant things. If you listen to my previous episode, you would know that most introverts value one-on-one intimate conversations with close friends and family. So that's basically the complete opposite of small talk. And for me personally, I hate small talk. I hate it so much because Wikipedia said, they're polite conversations about unimportant things. Keyword being unimportant. So I definitely dread it. I am definitely with my introvert colleagues or what have you, that it's definitely one of those things that we dread because during like small talk, there tends to be like awkward silences sometimes. Like I've suffered from awkward silences, and a really great example of that is like this one time, we went to my husband's coworker's place to go pick up like exercise equipment, and she started a conversation, but then I didn't know how to continue it on, or like, I don't know. And we just like ended up standing there in silence. But luckily, Link saved the day. So Link is my dog, and he was in the car and she spotted him and she got really excited. And she's like, "Oh my God, I didn't know you were going to bring your dog." And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you, Link." Because I don't know how long like we could stand there in silence, because I felt like it was silent for too long, that it would have been weird if I just like all of a sudden came up with something to talk about. But that happens. But small talk is something that we just have to deal with. It's just, it's just what people do. Luckily though, I've learned how to small talk, and I've learned how to properly small talk and make it become more beneficial to me, especially like in the workplace, because I definitely wasn't good at it. Like I definitely was terrible at it. Based on that story I just told you, like obviously it's still work in progress. I'm still practicing, but I'm for sure better than how I used to be. And honestly, I am so amazed by people who can do it properly and can do it so well. Like Brandon, my husband, is super great at small talk. And I asked him about it, and he said he learned how to get better at it because of his job, which is kind of the same situation as me, but people also just gravitate towards him. Like, unlike me, he has this like, I don't know, friendly aura around him, I guess. He's very approachable. He doesn't look mean like I do. He doesn't have an RBF like I do. And it also doesn't hurt that he's also really handsome. But seriously, like people just love talking to him, and he can easily start a conversation. Like, he can easily like conduct small talk and then turn it into a full-blown conversation. And that's just crazy. Like, I don't know why that's so amazing, but it's definitely like an amazing trait that not a lot of people have. And then like another person, like my best friend Bailey, she's amazing at it too. Like there are literally times that I'm just waiting on her, because she she also has a very approachable personality, and I don't know, like she can figure out like what to say to a person like instantly, and people gravitate towards her as well, and they love talking to her, and she could carry on a conversation like with Brandon. Like she can turn small talk into a full-blown conversation, and she can make it very engaging. I'll have her on a podcast, so you'll see, you'll hear firsthand like how well she is at just like carrying on a conversation. So for me, majority of like small talk happens in the office. Like, man, the office is the absolute worst. So much so that I tend to avoid the break room. So when we were in quarantine and we were going into the office, there's like a small group of us who come in earlier than everybody else. Like, I think I come in like maybe an hour or like half an hour earlier than everybody else. And it's so nice. Like my last couple of projects to go, I used to come into work, I think like at 6 or 6:30, like super early in the morning. And it's just so nice because like I get like 2-3 hours to myself, that because people tend to not like going that early, and also some people like have kids so they can't go in that early. But man, it's so nice and quiet. And if I could, I'd probably do like the 6 o'clock schedule again if my boss will ever permit that. But honestly, like we're in quarantine, so it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter anymore. But the nice thing about getting in early is that like I can take like I have a little like me time, and it's very chill, and there's not a lot of people. Obviously, it's just like that small of us who like to work early, and so when I go into work, like I make my tea and I fill up my water bottle in the break room, and like I get the break room to myself, and it's just really nice. And but obviously, like, I can't totally avoid people. So I do run into people and engage in small talk because there's only so much avoiding I can do. In the break room, we only have one break room and it's tiny and we all have to share. But small talk, like, it definitely differs with those, like, the people I talk to. Like, some people it's easier to talk to, like my manager, my teammates, people I've worked with for a while. Obviously extroverts are super easy to talk to. But it is harder with like people you barely work with, like who aren't in your department, who aren't in your team, but like they share the same office space as you. And it's there's this one time, and I doubt he'll ever listen to this, but I had a coworker who tried to start like a conversation with me, like, just, because we were both in the break room at the same time making our breakfast. So because I come in early, I also make my breakfast at the office so I can like eat my breakfast there, like while I'm checking emails and stuff. Anyways, he tried to talk to me about oatmeal. And he asked me like what oatmeal brand I use and like what's my favorite flavor. And he told me his answers, like, what brand he used and what's his favorite answer. And that was like the whole conversation. And just like Wikipedia said, like, small talk is just unimportant things. And I was like, wow, what a boring and unnecessary conversation. Like, what was the point of that? Was he going to go buy me oatmeal afterwards? Or like, I don't know. But like I said in the intro, there are definitely benefits to small talk, and learning how to small talk is actually pretty important, especially like in the workplace. And it's important too, like, to build relationships. And so in my type of work, in IT consulting, or like not even IT consulting, just work in general, and just like getting yourself out there. Networking. I know I hate networking too. But networking is honestly so important. It is key. There are times where it's not what you know, but who you know. And I mentioned before that in previous episodes that I have a degree in family studies, but I work in IT. So like, I may not be as qualified as some people in my field, but I have done really well in this profession. Like, I've done really well in this field, even though I don't have like the MIS degree or like the computer science degree or anything like that, because I've learned how to like engage with people and build relationships with people and like get my name out there so people like remember me and they know who I am, so that if anything happens or anything, like any positions open up, they'll think, oh, Melissa, she can do that. She'd be great at that. Like in my last job, we had a lot of networking events, like so many, too many to be honest. And I remember just coming home extremely exhausted from them. But it really helped me out because like networking really did help get my name out there. And I was able to get like a lot of references, and I got to meet a lot of people and then build relationships with people. And not saying that like I'm not a hard worker or anything, because I'm definitely a hard worker. Like, I really pride myself in my work ethic, but I do feel like I did get more opportunities and more advantages just because I was more vocal and I forced myself to talk to people and engage in small talk so people would remember me. Because I've definitely feel like I've gotten more advantages versus someone who truly is meant to be in this field and like has the degree and all that. But because of my people skills, I was able to like get ahead, or I was able to go far in this profession. And honestly, what really helped me to get to that point is working in customer service, because people who can small talk they get good tips and it's good for business and it's good for annual reviews because you get compliments in the compliment box. And it also helps like build relationships with regulars. And through time, like your small talks become more meaningful conversations. Like, like conversations go from how's the weather to how's your vacation in Europe? Or like, um, I've had regulars who were totally invested in like my education and they would ask me like how college is doing. And then like I would hear like really cool stories about like what they did in college and their experiences. And yeah, you just really build these great relationships. Like there's this one regular, like I'll never forget him. And he was super nice and super generous and he always tipped me pretty well. But he noticed like I was eating frozen yogurt. So I worked at a yogurt shop and I was eating frozen yogurt. And I think it was like 9 o'clock at night or something, or like 8 o'clock. And he asked me like, why was I eating the froyo? Like, aren't I tired of it? And I explained to him like, well, I work 2 jobs. So like, this is technically my dinner because I don't have enough time between jobs to like go get food. And then he like went and got me a burger. So I had like dinner for that night and it was really awesome. And there's like this other regular, there's this lady with her support dog and she goes to like, elderly places or like, what are they called? Care homes, and she like visits the elderly people with her dog, and she was awesome. She was always chipper and she had like amazing stories and I loved hearing about it. And I honestly really miss some of my regulars. Like I wish I could have been able to say bye to like every single one of them. And and they also like always tipped me really well. So that was definitely a plus. Not like only did I get to like build a relationship with them and like have more meaningful conversations down the road, but then they also tipped me really well. Like there was this one deaf couple who who always went to the yogurt shop and they would always like make out at the corner. And I didn't care. Like I just, just left them alone or whatever. But they always gave me a huge tip and I loved it. And then they taught me how to say okay, water, and thank you in sign language, the key customer service ones. So that was pretty cool. Anyways, so yeah, small talk, even though it's like awful, no one likes doing it, it can lead to like bigger, greater things, and I hopefully like I can kind of share like what I learned and like what I do to like help me small talk better. I don't know if that's grammatically correct, small talk better, but hopefully this will like some of these tips can help you. After this episode, if you thought any of that was helpful and then like you actually used it out in the real world, let me know. Like follow me on social media and let me know like if this helped you at all, because I would love to know if this is actually really helpful. But all right. So how to small talk. So this is more like small talk at work because that's really where I benefit small talk the most. And I feel like that's where introverts will probably benefit small talk the most. And so one of like the main things though that I do is I ask questions so that there's not a lot of awkward silence. I tend to ask questions just because then the conversation, will be about them. Like I make it about them so that they have to do all the talking and then I don't have to do much, but you have your typical, like, how's your weekend? What are you doing over the weekend? Those are great questions. Like those are just your great typical questions, but I try to ask questions that also help me obtain a little detail about them. So, you have your typical weather small talk, which that one's the worst, honestly, because it's like, okay, how many times are you going to ask me about the weather? So instead of talking about the weather, you can instead like ask them about what they like about the weather. Like, for example, right now it's summertime. Well, in the Northern Hemisphere. I don't know if I have any listeners like in the Southern Hemisphere, but right now it's summertime for us here up north. Okay, sorry. Just crack myself up sometimes. Back to my example. Okay, so it's summertime. So instead of saying like, man, it's another hot one out there, ask like, how are you liking this heat? Are you a summer person or a winter person? Then you get that little like tidbit about what they like, and you can use that for next time. Like you're basically just like building up your conversations so that they're leading to more like meaningful conversations down the road. So I try to like remember little details about everyone that I encounter. Like, do you guys watch The Office? I love The Office. I absolutely love The Office. But anyways, so Michael Scott keeps a Rolodex with notes in it. If you don't know what a Rolodex is, it's like old school address book, I guess, or old school like phone book, and it rotates. I don't know. You could Google it. I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, so he keeps notes about all of his clients on his Rolodex so that when he goes and sees them again, he'll like have conversation topics like readily available to him. And that's what makes him like a great salesman, because he like remembers little like details about all of his clients, and it makes the client really love him for it, and they continue business. And that's, that's totally true. Like in real life, like it's not in just in TV show. So that's why I make sure that I remember like little details. So like the small talk at first kind of sucks and it's like really boring. But if you can grab like these little details about someone, you can like build it up. So like now, this person says like likes wintertime. Like the next conversation you can talk about like, oh my God, I can't wait for winter. Like, what do you like doing in the winter? Or like, what do you do in the summer to combat this heat or something? Like, you're just building off of it. And then eventually you get to know the person more. And then you might actually end up like really like talking to this person. There's like a lot of stuff you can talk about. Like you can talk about their pets, their kids, their grandkids, like, just anything that interests you as well. Like if you like reading books, maybe you could figure out like what books they like to read, or like TV shows they like to watch, or what type of movies. Like it could really be anything. Like Brandon told me that he tries to find something that he has in common with like his customers. And so you could totally do that in the workplace. Like hopefully my coworkers aren't listening, but I sometimes like in a new job or a new place, like I'll scout out their cubicle and just like learn little things about them just for me to like get a little idea about who they are. I'm not like stalking them, and I'm not like going inside their cubicle and just like looking at every single thing, but like just, just walk by and like notice little things. Like people usually have like a picture of their pet or their kids or like of their family. Or some people, they like to bring in like little decor just to keep their cubicle like homey. And some people like put their favorite, I don't know, sports team up, and then that could be something you guys talk about. Like you find out they love the same team as you, or even the opposing team, you guys could totally talk about that. Like for me, I noticed that my manager has a lot of stuff from Target, and we actually had a lot of the same stuff. So I mentioned that in a conversation with her, and it like lit up her face that we were, there was something we had in common, and we were talking about it, and it was like, it ended up being a really fun conversation. So just like just find little tidbits from people, and then just like build from it. And honestly, like this works too, like at a party. Like introverts tend to be very observant, like in nature. That's just like one of like the characteristics that most introverts have. So like use that to your advantage, like scout out the room, find someone who may have the same fashion sense as you. And you could go up to them and say like, hey, your outfit's really cute. Like, where did you get that? And then, and then it can build from there. Or like find someone who seems like an introvert too. And like, you can ask them like, hey, how do you know the host? Like, do you know anyone at this party? And then that can totally start a conversation about like how they even got there, like how did they even get invited? Why are they there? And you might end up meeting like someone really awesome. And again, like you're asking the questions about them. So like, my first tip, I guess, is that you're starting the conversation with questions. So you're trying to get to know them. You're asking questions about them. They're doing all the talking because it's about them, you're learning about them. And then that's like building little details you can use to further the conversation. And then it helps you get to know the person too, if you even want to keep the conversation going, like at a party, you know what I mean? And you might like get really lucky and find someone really amazing and really fun and like someone you absolutely like, just love talking to. Cause that's happened to me before too. Like I've met some really awesome people at work that I probably wouldn't have had this like relationship with them if I didn't start talking to them. And like some of them are still my friends and we're friends on social media and we like actually hang out outside of work. And I've like really met some really great people that I am so grateful that, we both had the courage to talk to each other. Cause, I did end up like finding or befriending a lot of introverts too. So, small talk, isn't something favorable on both sides. We still were able to like create a relationship and a great relationship too. So small talk, yeah, it sucks. But it can be really beneficial both in work and both in your personal life. Like, small talk is definitely like the stepping stone to a real conversation. Granted that you actually want that conversation, but it can also help you like figure out whether you want to be friends with someone or not too. Like you can really learn a coworker that way and figure out like, should I be friends with you or should I just like stay away from you and just business only? So yeah, so those are like my main tricks. I think it's not a whole lot. It's not like a whole lot of tips, but I think they really like helped me out, like making the conversation about them, asking the questions so that you're not doing all the talking, getting the little details about people so that you can use that in future conversations and building up relationships. And then like it works, in customer service and it works well in the office. It really works well like anywhere, any workplace and situation and also like at parties. So please let me know if like any of this was helpful, if you like used it out in the real world. And then if you're like a pro at small talk, like somehow you just were able to master it or you have like other tips, let me know too. Cause like I said, I'm still learning how to do it. I'm not perfect and we're in quarantine right now. So I'm definitely out of practice. Like I don't obviously see my coworkers anymore. So our conversations are literally limited to like when we have a meeting and every once in a while, like we'll chit chat during the meeting, but it's like, I haven't had like a full conversation with anyone at work and haven't had to use like small talk since the quarantine, to be honest, because even like in the grocery store, like when you go out, no one's talking to each other. Like everyone has a mask. So yeah. So definitely still learning, still figuring it out. So I'd love to hear your suggestions. So that's like what I do. And I did try to look up online, like some articles too that might be helpful. But honestly, a lot of them did just kind of say what I do. I didn't find like a whole lot of new stuff. And I did like the stuff that I did find, I don't know. I didn't really think it was helpful. So figured, But I did find this WikiHow. Like, man, there's a WikiHow for anything. Like everything. There's a WikiHow for everything. And I just wanted to share this because like, I'm not going to share what's in the WikiHow article because it's kind of what I already talked about. But I just like thought it was kind of funny. Like there's like a WikiHow for everything and like literally everything. And I mean literally everything because I scrolled down to the comments and I think someone like jokingly asked like, how can I be more attractive to girls? And I kind of like laughed and I like showed it to Brandon. I was like, someone like asked this and someone literally answered with another WikiHow. And I thought they were just joking because the other WikiHow is, how to be attractive to girls, and I thought it was a joke link or something, but it's an actual link. Like someone actually wrote an article on how to be attractive to girls. And so I can link that in the description too if you guys want to check it out, because I thought it was pretty funny. Because like, okay, I have to read you guys like a couple of the methodologies of how to be attracted to girls, because I thought it was just so ridiculous. Okay, so one of them is have a good personality. Like, I'm sorry, what? just you're just supposed to just have a good personality somehow, just like instantly. Like, okay. Then some of the stuff are like super obvious, like maintaining your personal hygiene. I mean, yeah, duh. And then like one of the suggestions is like talk to women more often, or practice respect and kindness. And it's like, do you really need a WikiHow to know to be able to be attracted to women? You have to be able to respect and be kind to them. I don't understand that. And then like one of the methods is determining who you are attracting. So seek out someone who is in your own league. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Anyways, this whole article like cracked me up. So I'll put it in the description, because I thought, I don't know, maybe because I'm a woman and like as a woman, like reading this, I just thought it was just ridiculous. And the article's written by a guy, so a dating coach. And I wonder like, do those work? Do people actually, like, cause I know people actually do pay dating coaches, cause obviously they're getting paid because they're around and there's a lot of them. But I'm just wondering, like, does it work? Does it actually work? I don't know. Go check it out. Let me know what you think about it. Sorry, I know like I digress, or I know it's like a totally different tangent from the small talk thing, but a funny find that I just came across when I was doing research for this episode. All right, guys. Well, I hope you like this episode. If you do, please consider following me on social media. I am on Instagram at The Talkative Introvert Podcast. I'm also on Facebook. I have these uploaded on YouTube. I also have my own website. It's called TheTalkativeIntrovertPodcast.com. So please let me know like how you feel about the episodes, how you felt about the podcast. And I do have one last ad. Man, I will get better at this. I was totally planning on like sneaking that in the middle of the episode. Anyways, I'm sure you heard it in the last episode if you listened to it, but I do want to promote Instacart. Instacart is awesome, especially during this time, like during the quarantine, because Instacart does the shopping for you and delivers the grocery to your doorstep. They connect you to a personal shopper that you can easily chat with online or on the mobile app. Please follow the link in the description to let them know I sent you and to help support this show. Listeners will receive free delivery on your first order over $35. Use Instacart and you'll never need to step into a grocery store again, which honestly would probably be like an introvert's dream anyway, so go check it out. All right, that's the end of the episode, you guys. Thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode.